Well, thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Will Reece, and I'm the marketing rep for AFC Vacations. And today we'll be taking a look into the national parks of the U.S. as well as some in Canada. Now, America's national parks, monuments, and historic sites are yours to explore as timeless places of beauty, history, and wonder. Walk in the footsteps of legends, stand before breathtaking landscapes, and create unforgettable memories. And because these places are so well preserved, you can share your experiences with your children and grandchildren, knowing that one day they'll stand in the same awe-inspiring spots. These parks are absolutely incredible, well preserved, and amazing sights to take in with all different natural wonders. Here in this first image, this is Arches, part of Arches National Park, with over 2,000 arch formations. And as we go through the show, there'll be a number of highlighted parks with extra slides. Now, if you haven't traveled with the AFC before, what we offer are worldwide tours and cruises, all different travel styles from our train trips through the national parks and over in Europe, European river cruise charters that take you through the wonderful stretches of waterway in Europe, and then our land tours by motor coach going through the national parks as well abroad. One of our most popular trips are our Unpack Once tours, and those settle into one destination for your entire stay. So you get to unpack your suitcase and really make a vacation out of it. Now, what's included with an AFC tour? First and foremost, we do show you round-trip airfare from each of the main gateways that we work with, from the West Coast on over to the East. And then we do have a outstanding team of tour managers, great guides that lead you all over the world. And they really do care about your experience as you go out and travel. Our hotels and sightseeing are inclusive. Great locations that we try to program our tours into with quality properties, 4-star or first class, depending on the regulations based on Europe or within the United States. And then inclusive and honest pricing. Now, we also have a couple of different guarantees. One is our guaranteed departures. That means that trip has enough passengers to travel and is ready to go out the door. So you'll see that in the symbol GD throughout our different departures, and we'll expand that throughout the year as more of these trips get to guaranteed status. Now, we also provide guaranteed pricing, and what that means is once you put your deposit down on a trip, your price is locked in. So even as fuel surcharges increase, as prices increase from our vendors, that doesn't get passed on to you, and that's what you can come to expect from AFC. We are covered under a consumer protection plan through the USTOA, and we are a select member of about 50 tour operators nationwide, covered under a $1 million traveler's assistance program. So if for any reason the company went through insolvency, your deposits, your travel protection plan, and your final payments are protected under USTOA. One of the biggest perks with booking with AFC is that we do provide home pickup airport service within 40 miles of the main gateways. So we pick you up at your door, take you to the airport, and bring you back after your tour. And it's one of the top features that we do offer. People are always talking about how great of an aspect that is. So definitely look out for that when it comes to booking. And then we also provide a home pickup credit. And what that means is if you make your own way to the airport, either Lyft, Uber, or sharing a ride with a friend, we take $100 off your final payment. So that's an easy way to save money as well. What AFC is really about is real people and real service. And we've been serving our clients since 1982. So over 43 years in the travel industry, and that great consumer protection with USTOA and the backing from the United States Tour Operators Association. We do provide a travel protection plan that costs anywhere from about $375 to about $600, depending on the trip and the length, not on age or pre-existing conditions. So look out for the travel insurance aspects throughout your trips and as you plan. And then we have a number of different great values to offer. The first is a risk-free deposit. So up until 90 days prior to departure, your deposit and travel insurance is available via travel credit if you did have to cancel. So there's great protections there. And then our Travelers Club is our loyalty program. And so if you book a tour with us and book a second tour within 18 months, that second trip is automatically enrolled to receive $100 off your final payment. And that applies in each trip thereafter within that window of 18 months. Now, at AFC, we were a company that really grew from word of mouth. People would tell their friends and family members about us, and the company itself grew like crazy. So now we have folks from coast to coast, from San Diego all the way to Washington, D.C. And our primary hub of travelers are Americans that go both domestic as well as international. So we offer a referral credit. So if you do tell a friend or family member about us and they use your name at booking, we take $100 off your next trip. So once they've traveled with us. And we do provide a early booking savings, and now that's extended to more than the original 20. So the first 20 passengers to book on a specific departure save the most amount of money. And then there's still savings for the 21st through 40th client to book on a tour. So it's up to $100 off on domestic and international trips, and then can be applied up to $200 off on the European river cruises. So you would just make your final payment by check and be in that first couple categories to save money. Getting into some of our wonderful trips, we'll start out by looking at the mystery tour vacations, some of which do see national parks, state parks, and historic sites throughout. And these are 5 days in length from about $25.99 on a per person double occupancy basis. We include 7 meals, so all of our breakfasts and a welcome and farewell dinner. And then the other meals are areas where we'll give you time to explore, give you recommendations for areas to grab a bite. And these are some really fun, exciting trips. They sell out almost every departure, and you can already see a number of those are guaranteed departures already. The August departure is an international mystery tour. I can tell you that won't be going to Mexico. But these are some really unique itineraries and combine a lot of great features and destinations you wouldn't think of off the top of your head. But areas we've used in the past are Minneapolis, Spokane, Washington, even Birmingham, Alabama. And that's where we went to the Muscle Shoals recording studio and got to see where the Rolling Stones and Aretha Franklin performed at one time. Now, how they work is when you call and ask about them, we would ask you where you've been before, where you're interested in going, and then direct you to the date specific, which works best for you. And then we send you a packet of information about 2.5 weeks prior to departure, and that has your pickup time from home to airport, your flight time, and the other details are all left a mystery. So once you arrive at the airport counter, it's always fun to tell the people there you don't know where you're going, but they'll tell you your first destination when it comes to your flight. And then each step of the way, once you're met by your tour manager and baggage claim on arrival, is a mystery, and it's unveiled throughout the process. So it's a really fun, go with the flow type of tour, and a lot of fun destinations incorporated. Our Niagara Falls and the Grand Hotel trip is a wonderful experience, one of our top selling trips, and you can see that with all the dates being guaranteed or sold out. So we do have a number of sold out dates on this program already, and a number of those that are guaranteed will transition to sold out very shortly. So please ask if there's any dates that work. There may have been a cancellation here or there, so definitely check in with our office if there's any space on each of these. And then when it comes to the tour itinerary, what we'll do is we'll fly into Detroit and fly out of Buffalo. On arrival, we spend 2 nights in Dearborn, and that is the home of Henry Ford, so we get to see the Ford River Rouge plant and the Ford Museum. Then we work our way up to the north to Mackinac Island, and this island is car-free, so we're picked up by horse-drawn carriage and spend 2 nights at the Grand Hotel. Just a magical venue and a wonderful place to see and stay. And there we do a dinner with dancing, and it's a really wonderful night to get all dressed up and have a celebration. We'll do a city tour of Mackinac by horse-drawn carriage as well, and then head down into Frankenmuth. Now, this is a Bavarian-style town, so German-style architecture, as well one of the largest Christmas stores in the country. From Frankenmuth, we head over to Niagara Falls, and we stay on the Canadian side, so you will need your passports. And we stay 2 nights there, getting a chance to see the falls underneath by one of the boat cruises. We also walk along the river. And then last but not least, we see the Skylon Tower view from up above as we enjoy our farewell dinner at the Skylon Tower, looking down over the lights on the falls. So just a wonderful program, 8 days and 11 meals included. Our Nashville Smoky Mountains and Bluegrass Tour is a great combination of Kentucky and Tennessee with a touch of North Carolina. Now this trip flies into Louisville, and there's where we get to do a city tour. We feature a number of great museums and visits. And then right across from the Louisville Slugger Museum is the Muhammad Ali Center. So you can always wander over there to see that as well. A couple of primary features on this program, going to Churchill Downs and seeing the racetrack as well as the museum there. And then the Kentucky Horse Park near Lexington. And this is a wonderful celebration of man's relationship with horse. Being in Kentucky, you can't go there without trying some bourbon. So we do a Evan Williams bourbon experience where you get to try a number of different bourbons and their styles and flavors. And then working our way to the south, we also stop at the Ark Encounter. And you get to learn about Noah's Ark from the perception of the Bible. Even if you're not religious, it's still a very interesting aspect to take in and get to see, is the replica of what was said to be the exact specifications of that ship. Now, as we work our way into Tennessee, we stay 2 nights in the Gatlinburg area, and we also work our way into North Carolina to see the Biltmore Estate. And this is a wonderful visit. It's an incredible mansion and gardens. And then from Tennessee, we'll also head up to Pigeon Forge, and a main focal point is our visit to the Smoky Mountains, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Now, this is home to a tremendously diverse amount of wildlife, everything from foxes, bears, and so forth. So it's a great opportunity to see the tremendous tree life, wildlife, and beautiful scenery. And then we'll work our way out to Nashville, and that's where we'll spend our last 3 nights getting to enjoy the Country Music Hall of Fame, as well as a Nashville City Tour with the Grand Ole Opry. So fantastic experience there. Dates that are still remaining, September 21st is guaranteed. We anticipate October 12th getting there as well. Now, our New York City and the Hudson Valley isn't so much a national parks tour as it does feature historic sites. So within the city of New York, there are a tremendous number of sites that we take in with history and dedications, one of which is the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. We'll also take you over to the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. So these are great parks to take in. And then from there, we'll spend 3 nights in the city, generally around the Manhattan area, getting to do a city tour and also see a Broadway show. And then as we work our way to the north, up into the Hudson Valley for 3 nights, we also incorporate West Point, and that's the wonderful military academy where we'll do a tour, get to see the grounds, and then over to Hyde Park. Now, this is a historic site, the home of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So we'll take that in. We'll do a Hudson River cruise, as well as seeing the area of New Paltz and Huguenot Street. The Huguenots were some of the first immigrants to come into the United States in the 1600s. So this tour runs September 19th and October 10th. Now, West Virginia Rails in Williamsburg is a brand new trip for us, and this one is already guaranteed for each of the 3 departures. September 25th with Chris McCool, October 2nd, and October 9th with Deb Howard, 2 of our regular guides, and they do a fantastic job. On this program, we'll fly into DC and do an illuminations tour, so you get to see the nation's monuments. And then we'll work our way into West Virginia to do 2 different train rides. One is the Potomac Eagle Scenic Train, and this is home to a tremendous number of bald eagles and also a beautiful scenic train. And then over to the New Tigert Flyer, and that's also a restored train car. So we'll take those journeys about 3.5 hours each through the valley and seeing the rivers and amazing mountains. We'll stay 2 nights in Elkins before heading down to the Greenbrier Resort. And this is one of the oldest resorts in America, dating back to 1776. And in the basement of the Greenbrier is a bunker that was built for the diplomats of Washington, D.C., in case anything were to happen during the Cold War, so that they had an escape route. From the Greenbrier, after we tour the bunker and get to see this amazing property, we head over to Monticello, and that is where Thomas Jefferson lived. That was his estate and farm, and so you'll learn about his life and times. And then over to Williamsburg, where we spend 3 nights and visit colonial Williamsburg, as well as the battlefield of Yorktown and seeing Jamestown while we're there. We'll do a colonial farewell dinner and wrap up by flying out of Washington, D.C. at the end. So this is 8 days, 7 nights. Our Brandywine, Philadelphia, and Amish country is a great celebration both this year and next, as next year is the 250th anniversary of America. Now, the September 28th and October 5th dates are anticipated to get up to guaranteed status. They're not quite there yet, but this is a great Unpack Once tour. And we stay 5 nights in Philadelphia, get to see a number of great city sites, including the famous Rocky statue and the steps. And from there, we'll also work our way over to Independence Hall and seeing the Liberty Bell. We'll work our way through the National Constitution Center to learn all about the Founding Fathers. And then from there, head over to the Reading Terminal Market. And that's a great place to grab some lunch and get to explore some of the vendors. From there, we head out to the countryside. And that's where we take in 2 different mansions. One is Nemours Mansion and the other Longwood Gardens. And these are part of the DuPont family properties. The DuPont family created smokeless gunpowder. Then from there, we work our way through the Brandywine Valley and up to Valley Forge. And this is where George Washington gathered the troops and created the true Continental Army. Of course, being in that part of Pennsylvania, you got to visit Hershey and get a chance to try some great chocolate at the Hershey Story Museum and chocolate tasting. And then we wrap this trip up with a visit to the Amish country and do a traditional meal as our farewell dinner. But here are just some great images of Independence Hall, as well Valley Forge, which was a main battle site preparing the army for battle. Now moving into the far northeast coast, we visit Cape Cod and the islands. On this tour, this is a primarily summer and fall trip, runs from July on through into October. And we start out with a city tour in Boston. So a number of very important sites to the development of our nation. As we arrive in Boston, we'll do a city tour with Faneuil Hall. We'll also see Boston Commons, and that's one of the largest parks in the country, public parks. We'll see USS Constitution, and that is known as Old Ironsides, as a ship in the harbor. And then we work our way out to another historic site in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And that is where we get to see the replica of the Mayflower 2. And then we'll also take in Plymouth Rock. Now, in our time there, we take you over to the Plymouth Pawtucket Plantation. That's where the first settlers came in and built a farm. We'll also work our way out to Yarmouth or Hyannis as our main hub for 5 nights in one hotel. From there, we work our way to the tip of the Cape up to Provincetown or P-Town, and then take 2 different ferries, one to Nantucket and the other to Martha's Vineyard. Now, both of these sites are amazing, great opportunities to see some harbors and beautiful settings. And in Nantucket, we go to the Whaling Museum. So you'll learn all about the whaling industry and how it helped grow the wealth in the Northeast. We make a day trip down to Rhode Island, and that's where we visit Newport and the Breakers Mansion. And of course, being in this part of the country, we have to include a lobster dinner, so we do that as part of our farewell. Back to the Pacific Coast, along the Coast Highway, we work our way into Seattle on the Pacific Coast, Seattle to San Francisco tour. Now, this only has one departure date, that is August 10th, and there's only a handful of seats remaining on this tour. So if it is of interest, and I highly recommend it, having led it in the past, I definitely suggest doing this trip, and it's a great opportunity to see both the cities as well as the coastline. As we arrive in Seattle, we'll spend 2 nights there. We'll do a city tour with the Space Needle, as well getting the chance to see Pike Place Market, famous as one of the oldest continuously operating farmers markets in the country. From Seattle, we'll head south. We'll stop in Portland for the night and get a chance to learn about Portland's history as a timber town, and also see the Rose Test Gardens up on the hillside in Portland. From the city, we'll continue out to the coast, going through the Willamette Valley, known for its agriculture, and that's also the end of the Oregon Trail. And then coming out to the coastline, we'll work our way down to the Newport area and then on down for a one-night stay in Coos Bay. It's a very small community, very peaceful setting. And then from Coos Bay, we enter along the coast into California, and we'll come through the Redwoods National Park as part of this trip. So we'll get to see some beautiful coastal redwood trees. We'll do the jet boat ride on the Rogue River. That's another great scenic stretch and beautiful to take in. And then we stay in the town of Eureka. And now all surrounding Eureka are these tremendous redwoods, and we'll get to do the Avenue of the Giants, which is a roadway that cuts through the redwoods. And then from Eureka, we head down into San Francisco, and that's where we wrap up the trip with 2 nights in the city by the bay. We incorporate a wine tasting as well as a city tour, where we also get a chance to see the surrounding areas. So great trip, August 10th. Again, limited space on this tour. Our Utah's Mighty National Parks tour heads out from April into October. Again, there may be a spot or two on that April 27th, but we are close to the departure date, so please give us a call if that date works better. As we arrive on this tour, we fly into Salt Lake City, and we've adjusted this trip over the years. We used to fly into Grand Junction, but that made for some tougher air scheduling. So Salt Lake City provides really great air, and as we arrive, we'll spend one night getting to do a city tour and see a number of great sites around Salt Lake. From there, we work our way down to Moab, and this is a tremendous hub to get to see the national parks in Utah. From Moab and our 4 nights there, we work our way out to Canyonlands National Park, and that's where we get a chance to do a boat ride through the canyon at night. Now, we also do Monument Valley, and this is a tremendous site to get to see the landscape and these beautiful rock formations that just jut out of the ground. We'll take you over to Capitol Reef National Park, and that's a highlight for a lot of folks, as well as Arches. And then seeing Dead Horse State Park and Dead Horse Point, which is that beautiful bend of the Colorado River. Amazing sights of Monument Valley and a number of movies filmed out there by John Wayne. Getting out to the South Pacific, there are a tremendous number of national parks throughout that region. The primary is Haleakala and Volcanoes National Parks. So we fly into Honolulu, into Oahu, for our 3-night stay to start out this trip. And that's where we get to stay right near Waikiki Beach. From there, we'll also do a Circle Island tour and get a chance to see the Dole pineapple plantations as part of an optional trip. We'll do a Honolulu city tour, and one of my favorite aspects is going out to Pearl Harbor and paying respects to the men and women that died in the attack December 7th, 1941. We'll take a small boat out to the USS Arizona Memorial, and that hovers right over the sunken ship. Then from Oahu, we'll fly over to the Big Island of Hawaii and into Hilo. That's where we drive from Hilo to Kona for 2 nights on the beautiful coast. From there, we also see Black Sand Volcanic Beach, and that is home to a tremendous number of turtles. So great little site that we'll take you out to. We also incorporate the Volcanoes National Park on our visit to the Big Island, and then flying over to Maui for our last 3 nights. And this is probably my favorite island of all of them. Beautiful location. Unfortunate with Lahaina and the fires that took place there, but they are working on rebuilding. The surrounding areas that we do get to see, though, are Haleakala National Park. And this sits up on a volcanic crater overlooking the island chain. So it's a beautiful drive getting up there and coming down, and some spectacular views from the top. Then from that area, we'll also take in the Maui Tropical Plantation, and then we generally stay right around Whalers Village in Kaanapali. So a great location and hub for a lot of activities. We do have a couple of periods where we do have some leisure time, as well some optional trips like a whale watching. So great opportunities there. Whales are less common in November, but in the March timeframe as well. And this is a 9-day, 8-night program. So great trip out to the islands. We have a number of programs that do Yellowstone and the Rapid City areas. This one is our Mount Rushmore, Yellowstones, and Frontiers trip, and it runs from June, July, and September. The June date is sold out. There may be a seat or 2 left, but the primary dates that are available are July and September. This trip flies into Rapid City with 3 nights there, and then we work our way out to Badlands National Park. Now, this is a tremendous hub for incredible geology, and then from there over to Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse. Now, we see Mount Rushmore both in the day as well as the night illumination ceremony. And then we continue up and over to Little Bighorn in Montana. So that's where you get to learn about Custer and his combat with the Native Americans in Montana. We'll stay the night in Billings and then work our way down to Cody, Wyoming. And that's home of the Buffalo Bill Cody Museum. So that is a 5-part museum and tremendous sightseeing throughout. And then we enter Yellowstone National Park from the east entrance from Wyoming and towards Idaho. And we stay 2 nights in West Yellowstone, and that's on the border of Wyoming and Montana. So the following day, we'll work our way on a loop tour around the southern loop of Yellowstone, getting to see hopefully some great wildlife. Now, we never guarantee you're going to see wildlife, but if there's ever a national park that it's most likely in, that would be Yellowstone. So not only do we see a tremendous amount of wildlife when we are generally there, also an incredible stretch of scenery. We'll take in the Old Faithful Geyser, a number of the fountain pots, and get a chance to see Yellowstone Lake and Canyon. And then we work our way south, getting down into Jackson and the Grand Teton National Park before flying out of Salt Lake City. So there's just a tremendous herd of buffalo, a number of herds that explore the park on a regular basis. Sometimes they stop traffic, but it's amazing to see these animals. And then the beautiful Grand Teton Mountains in the backdrop as we're working our way south to Jackson. Now, in terms of trips from a tour director to you that I highly recommend, this is the Black Hills and Badlands. So this is a 7-day, 6-night Unpack Once tour in Rapid City. So 1 hotel for your entire trip. And there's so many activities around Rapid City to see. So we'll do Mount Rushmore during the day as well as the night ceremony. We'll work our way out to the Badlands National Park. And again, seeing that geology there. We'll take in Fort Hays, and that is an area where the movie Dances with Wolves was actually filmed, and do a chuck wagon supper dinner there. And then down to the Mammoth site. Now, this area was actually an exotic jungle at one point in history. So we learn about the woolly mammoths, the tremendous fossils that they've uncovered, as well going to the Journey Museum. And that covers the timeline from the time it was an exotic jungle to present day. We'll see Crazy Horse as well as Deadwood. And then my favorite aspect of this trip, again, going through the summer and into September, is Custer State Park. And not only is it a beautiful scenic stretch with lakes as well as beautiful surrounding plains, we also go on the Buffalo Jeep Safari here. And that's where we take small vehicles out into the plains and getting to see the over 1,000 head of buffalo within the park. Then we take you over to the Badlands and this incredible geologic formation over time, built up layers of sand and dirt that compressed into different limestones and a tremendous amount of geology there. Getting up to the northwest, the far northwest corner of the U.S. is Alaska. Now, a lot of people take an Alaska cruise, but they tend to miss the Denali portion and the interior of Alaska, which is a tremendous wilderness stretch. So on this program, we fly in and out of Anchorage and spend 1 night on arrival. And then we take the wilderness train up and through to Denali National Park. And that's where we spend 2 nights at the lodge near Denali. We'll work our way out through the national park on a guided tour. And then we drive back into Seward and spend our 3 nights in Seward getting to see Kenai Fjords National Park. And an incredible opportunity for a glacial and wildlife cruise as we go out through the waterways of Alaska, which are just stunning. So this one runs through the summer, June, July, and August. Our Great Trains and Grand Canyons is probably our most popular West Coast tour, and that's because it stays 5 nights in the beautiful surrounds of Sedona, Arizona. Now, we fly in and out of Phoenix, and it's about a 2.5-hour drive up to Sedona. And from Sedona, we'll do a trolley tour of the surrounds. So we'll get a chance to go see the Chapel of the Holy Cross, which is built up into the Red Rocks. And then we'll also see Uptown Sedona as well as Tlaquepaque, which is an old Mexican-style village with all sorts of great art galleries. From there, we drive through Oak Creek Canyon up to Williams, Arizona. And this is where we board the Grand Canyon Railway. We take that up to the south rim of the Grand Canyon, and that's where we disembark, work our way up to the Bright Angel Lodge, and as we work our way through the lodge, that's where the canyon opens up. So really incredible sights throughout that. But really a highlight train ride on this one is the Verde Canyon Railroad, and that is featured here. Amazing first-class cars with very comfortable seating. We'll also have access to an open-air car, and that has a naturalist on board. And so as we explore, we get to see a number of great sights throughout that region, and it's one of the more lush parts of Arizona. This one runs March, May, September, October, and November. And then a big highlight as well is Montezuma's Castle, and that's pictured in the bottom left. It's an amazing cliff dwelling of the Sinagua tribe. But here's just a great image of the Grand Canyon and one of the many valleys that run through it. If you're a big hiker, there is some hiking trails that you can take from the Bright Angel Lodge. It's a bit of a slope, but I recommend doing so if you're able to. It's a beautiful way to get out of the touristy areas and get to see some other sights. Our Colorado Rockies Rails National Parks tour is a great loop tour around southwest Colorado and touches into Utah as well. This one runs June 15th, August 3rd, and September 7th. June 15th may have a seat or two open, but it's primarily sold out. And this one starts and ends in Denver. From here, we'll stay one night, making our way out to Vail, and that's a beautiful resort area where we'll stop for some lunch, and then into Grand Junction. Now, this is our hub for 2 nights as we work our way out to Arches and Canyonlands National Parks. From there, we continue south to Silverton, and that's where we board the Silverton and Durango Railroad. That takes us from Silverton to Durango, a beautiful scenic stretch, and our 2 nights in Durango. So as we arrive, we are close to the hotel. We'll make our way out to the Mesa Verde area and get a chance to see the beautiful cliff dwellings there. And then as we continue up to Colorado Springs, which has a tremendous diversity of experiences, we'll also stop at the Great Sand Dunes. And this is a tremendous area to explore. From Colorado Springs, on our 3 nights there, we'll take 2 different train rides. We'll get a chance to see the Royal Gorge Railroad, and that's pictured in the bottom right, as well as Pikes Peak Cabaret. And it's a beautiful setting to get up to one of the higher elevations in the Colorado area and get a chance to look out over the surrounds. So this one goes out through the summer primarily, and we also take in Dead Horse State Point. It's a beautiful bend of the Colorado River. Staying in California, this is a beautiful trip up into the valley and making our way out into Nevada as well. We'll start with round trip air that flies into San Francisco and out of Sacramento. We work our way for a city tour in San Francisco, getting to see the Golden Gate and as well doing a bay cruise. And then we continue up into Muir Woods and getting a chance to see the National Monument of Muir Woods. So incredible coastal redwoods that are taking in water from their branches and working its way downward rather than the normal operating process for trees. And then we'll explore the woods, the beautiful stretch of redwoods, and then over into Napa Valley. And this is where we'll do a wine tour and tasting as part of the trip. We continue for 1 night in Sacramento, and that's where we get to see Old Sacramento and the Railroad Museum, which is one of the most incredible museums I've ever been to. From there, we take the train up into Truckee, and that's the Amtrak California Zephyr. And so we are on board the train about 4 hours, working our way up into the north end of Lake Tahoe. And then we'll drive around the east side of the lake over to South Lake Tahoe for a 3-night stay. And that's where we do a paddle wheel cruise and get a chance to be out on Lake Tahoe. And it's beautiful clarity of about 97% clear. Very deep, very cold at the base of the lake, but an amazing stretch surrounded by mountains. And then we'll also work our way into Reno and the Virginia City area, home of the Comstock Lode. So you learn a little bit about the silver mining that took place there. Our Southwest National Parks trip is May and September, as well as one date in November. We work our way in and out of Las Vegas as our hub, and we spend 2 nights in Vegas, getting a chance to explore the area and doing a city tour on the Strip. From there, we head out to Grand Canyon West, and that is home of the Skywalk. That's a Native American hub, which has a glass walkway that goes out and around the Grand Canyon. So amazing to see, and a wonderful stop that we incorporate there. And then we use Mesquite as our hub for 3 nights, going out to Zion and Bryce National Park, 2 of my favorites, especially with Bryce. And as we explore Bryce Canyon, these amazing hoodoos are on display, carved out by wind, rain, snow, and everything else. But just a stunning park in general, and amazing different viewpoints as we work our way through. Yellowstone in the Wild West is a different version, getting up to Yellowstone National Park. We fly in and out of Salt Lake City and spend 1 night in both Salt Lake and Park City. So 1 on arrival, 1 on departure. We'll head up north to West Yellowstone for 2 nights and do a loop tour of Yellowstone National Park, again featuring Old Faithful, a number of the fountain pots, and some great wildlife, hopefully. And then down into the Grand Tetons, getting to see the beautiful mountains, and 2 nights in Jackson. That's where we get a chance to see the Snake River, and we'll do a float trip along the river. And then throughout that area, we'll also visit the Museum of Wildlife Art and Elk Refuge. Near the Yellowstone National Park, we take in the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center, and that's also in West Yellowstone. And then again, flying back out of Salt Lake. So this one runs throughout the summer and into September. But this gives you a great perspective of the fountain pots, the beautiful colors with sulfur, and amazing sights throughout. In regards to our last Western U.S. trip, this is our New Mexico Balloon Fiesta, and it's the most photographed event in the entire country. So what we do on this program is we fly in and out of Albuquerque. We'll work our way out for 2 nights and do the Balloon Fiesta in 2 different ways. We get up early in the morning to see the mass ascension as the sun rises up over the hills and these balloons take off with all their colors into the sky. And then we come back in the evening for the balloon glow. And as the sun is setting, the balloons fill with air. And again, you get to see the light underneath the balloons as they fill up. So tremendous colorings to these balloons, and there's hundreds and hundreds that stretch out over this field. And we'll have a private sector to come into, warm up if it's cold at all, but a great opportunity in October, both the 3rd and the 10th, to see this amazing event. We'll continue up to Santa Fe for 3 nights, and en route we'll visit Los Alamos, and that is home of the Los Alamos Bradbury Science Center. Within that, it talks about the atomic bomb and the testing site at Los Alamos. So if you've seen the movie Oppenheimer, a lot of that connects. And then in our time in Santa Fe, we'll do a city tour. We'll also take the high road to Taos. And Taos is a Indian pueblo where you get a chance to take in a tremendous foundation of that society and its culture. From there, we'll also stop at Chimayo's El Santuario. And this is a church built around the 1800s and incredible Spanish style to it. But amazing to see not only the Balloon Fiesta, but also Native American culture and roots. Getting up to the north in our Canadian Rockies and Glacier National Park. This one flies in and out of Calgary and get a chance to see some of the Calgary surrounds. Then we head to the south, and en route down to Glacier, we'll also stop in at this historic site, which is called Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. Now, it sounds funny, but this is where the Native Americans used to hunt buffalo off the edge of the cliff and only hunt the number that would allow them to survive off of. So they kept the herds stable in terms of their numbers and hunted what they needed. The rest survived. And they used every single part of the buffalo in terms of their clothing, their shelter, and their food. So we'll see this great site as well as the visitor center, and then 1 night in Glacier National Park. Generally, we stay at the lodge right there in Glacier. We'll get a chance to tour the area and also take the red jammer cars. These are restored 1930s vehicles that take us on the beautiful highway out to Lake McDonald in Montana. We'll stay in Whitefish or Kalispell for one night and then make our way up to Banff for 3 nights in the Canadian Rockies. And this is where we get to see Kootenai National Park as well as the Icefields Parkway. And that's an incredible stretch where we take the Ice Explorer. It's one of those large vehicles with the massive wheels up onto Athabasca Glacier and get to try some glacial water. Then down into Lake Louise, we'll get to see the beautiful lakes of the national park as well. So Lake Louise as well as Peyto and Moraine Lake with the Valley of the 10 Peaks pictured here. So great experience. We also do a tour of the Banff area and up to Sulphur Mountain. Now, an Unpack Once version of this is a 5-night stay in Banff, and that's the Canadian Rockies Unpack Once. So we fly in and out of Calgary, and it's about a 90-minute to 2-hour drive out to Banff, and it just gets more and more scenic as we go. So as we arrive into Banff, we'll spend 5 nights at one hotel, and the properties that we use primarily are right on Banff Avenue, and that whole stretch has great restaurants and shops, so within walking distance for the most part. From there, we head off and get to see those beautiful lakes like Emerald Lake and Lake Louise. We do a lunch at Chateau Lake Louise as part of this tour as well. And then we do incorporate that drive out to the Columbia ice fields. And through the parkway, this is one of the most scenic stretches in all of North America. And so we'll get a chance to get out on Athabasca Glacier as well. On this tour, when we work our way back into Banff, we'll do a city tour, get to see the surrounding areas, as well taking that gondola ride up to the top of the mountain with beautiful views over the valley. So a wonderful experience taking in all the greatness of the Canadian Rockies in their national parks. And so this runs July, August, September, and late September. So early and late September dates. September 7th is sold out. September 24th is not quite guaranteed, but we anticipate that getting so. So please give us a call if that is of interest. So as part of our show specials for attendees, if you do book a tour or European river cruise by Friday, March 21st, we do provide a $299 deposit. So that must be purchased with travel insurance and provides that $299 deposit. Normally our deposits are $400 or $600, depending on domestic or international trips. But this provides a great opportunity to go to either at a lower cost up front. We also offer a 1-cabin category upgrade on either of our river cruises that are still available. So we have the Douro in November. We also have a couple of spaces left on Normandy in October, as well getting into Burgundy and the Rhone River. How it works is you book a lower category at the lower price, and you're automatically upgraded to the category above it. And that can save about $200 to $400 per person, provides better spacing in your cabin, and better location on the ship. So I usually recommend people booking an E to C or C to B and being upgraded. This just does not apply to the suites. And you would just use the code PARKS2025 by this Friday for those savings to apply. Now, how you can book is reaching out to Joe, Holly, April, or Sam in our office, and their first name at afctours.com. So Samantha at afctours.com, Joe at afctours.com. You can call our phone number, which is 1-800-369-3693, or pull up our website, which is afcvacations.com. And any one of them can help you book your trip or answer any questions you have prior to booking. Again, we are filling up these trips. The tours are selling out. But also, if there is a trip that you're looking to do as a small group, please let us know if that is a priority for you, a smaller number in the travel experience, and our team can direct you to the right dates that do have smaller numbers. From all of us at AFC, we appreciate your time and thank you so much for joining us. If you do have any questions or feedback about the show, please email April at afctours.com. And again, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today on this wonderful view of the national parks. And we'll be back on March 27th for our next presentation. Now, visit our website as well. Take a look at our Facebook page, and please join our YouTube channel as we'll put those out on those networks as well. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.